Hi guys, welcome back to a Stash It Monday. Today I am working in my traveler's notebook and I am using photos from a recent trip to Myrtle Beach, and I am pulling this collection out of my stash. It is from Close to My Heart, and I picked it specifically for this trip, and I thought some of the colors and things went well with the inspiration piece. And I don't know, the inspiration piece, I may not have the exact colors, but the look of the inspiration piece for some reason reminded me of my Traveler's Notebook pages. So I do have more bold colors and this yellow that doesn't go into the inspiration piece, but I don't know, there was something about the inspiration piece that drew me to want to do a page in my Traveler's Notebook. So I am just taking this notebook and I have put several different pages in here from different trips, and I am moving on towards the back half of this album. And I wanted to spray some of that Lindy's Stamp Gang mist on the background before I put this piece of paper. So this piece of paper is actually from a brochure we got down in Myrtle Beach, and I thought it was perfect. I really liked the color, so I just trimmed off the top where the words were that I didn't like, and now I am adhering it down to this page with some matte medium, some gel matte medium, and mine is like super old, so I believe the matte medium usually is a lot more thin. So I was adding a little bit of water and stuff to it so that it smeared on my page a bit better. But it basically is a matte texture, so you don't have a glossy texture to it or a glossy finish. So I wanted to have that matte look because I wanted it not look like I used a glue or something to glue it down. So I thought it was a bit too bright, so I'm taking a little bit of gesso with a baby wipe and smearing it all over the surface just to kind of tone it back, or tone it down, I'm sorry, so that it's not so bold on the layout. And when you dry with the gesso, it does brighten up just a bit, but I thought that was perfect. It just toned it down a bit and made it so it wasn't quite as bold. So now I'm going to take some more of the mist and put it all over here so it kind of goes on top of that piece of paper that I just adhered. And then I'll dry that and make sure it's really nice and dry before I add any photos down. So this is a little picture of my daughter. These photos are printed on my not my zip printer, but my oh, I can't remember the name of it now. I got a different printer. I used to have a Polaroid zip printer, which I liked, but I end up doing that's what it is, an HP Sprocket. So I end up purchasing an HP Sprocket. I think the quality on them is about the same, but when I was doing some reviews, I found that the HP Sprocket was a little bit better, and I do think the photos are a little bit better, maybe not enough that if I knew now to buy a different one, but it ended up working out okay. So I sold the other one to somebody and then I used the money to buy this. So it ended up being okay, but I probably didn't have to go through that hassle. So now I'm just gluing down a few pieces here. I'm going to glue down this favorite stamp, and I stamped several of these images before I went on vacation because my intent was to do a lot of my notebook journaling on my trip, which I had done when I went to Colorado, but this trip was just a little bit more busy, so I didn't have as much downtime, so most of my pages are going to be done at home. So here is a sticker from that Creative Memories collection, Close to My Heart collection. And sometimes it's hard to tell how it's going to look on the page, so what I just did was trim it down just so I can get a better idea of what it was going to look like. But first I'm going to move back to the right hand side of the page, and I'm going to glue down this little photo. It's just half of one of the sheets of printer paper, and this is the view from our balcony, so looking down, and I wanted to capture that, and so I'm just going to glue that up in the top right. And I am using my liquid glue for anything that's on this gesso kind of background. It seems to stick a bit better, plus my book is not in a page protector or anything, so I tend to utilize liquid glue more often, but you'll see I use my ATG tape runner as well. So I am trimming out today's details, but I won't end up using this one. The color just wasn't going to work. It was just too much brown. I wanted to put it on the right hand side, and I already had that kind of grayish brown doily. So later on you're going to see that I'm going to trim out one that's more of a teal color, but I'm going to kind of go with it right now. So I'm just trying to figure out how I want to lay this all out on the left hand side, so I'm kind of figuring that's going to work. But what I end up doing is, I'm not quite sure if I like it, I'm going to end up mounting these little photos first on some white cardstock. Oh, but first I'm going to put some more of the spray, because I wanted the left side to look kind of like the right side, so I am going to put some spray mist down so it looks the same and mimics. So I'm going to use my ATG gun here on this card, and I am going to end up ripping the edges. I wish I would have done that before I let the paper or stuck the paper down, but it was kind of one of those, I put it down and then I realized, you know what, I think this torn edge would look better. So I kind of had to tear it on the page, but it ends up working out in the end. You'll see that in a minute. So I'm just using my date roller stamp to put the date, and then I'm going to write on the beach with a precision pen here in just a second. I just want to have something on the right hand side and just kind of to title the page, I guess. So here is where I put on the beach, and then I'm going to adhere it down where that circle is, that circle sticker. And those labels are from a cut apart sheet that I got from Caitlin Schaefer. So if you ever want to look at her website, her name is Caitlin Schaefer. She has a site where a blog, but then she has someone on her blog where you can download all these labels that are all different colors and patterns and things. You can download them and either fussy cut them out, or you can use your Silhouette to do a print and cut. So she has all the files for that if you're interested. Like I said, her name is Caitlin Schaefer, and so you can look her up. So here I'm just trimming out these little photos now. I just took some scrap pieces of white cardstock. Anytime I use white cardstock, I don't throw it away, and I always keep the scraps in a bin kind of on the side of my desk. And I end up mounting my photos a lot on these little scraps of paper. And that just kind of helps that those photos kind of pop off the page. So here I'm going to tear around this card very carefully. Like I said, there's lots of glue and stuff, so it was not the easiest thing. But I end up just tearing it out. And then once I get this all torn out, I realize, it's a little bit stark white. So I'm going to take some of this Mandarin Mai Tai shimmers, and I'm going to use my finger and just kind of smush it down. And of course, this is a lot brighter than the rest of my layout, a lot brighter yellow. So what I'll end up doing too is put a little bit of gesso and kind of mushing it in and kind of making that card fade more into the background so it doesn't look like it's sitting as much on top of the page. And then now I'm going to adhere my photos with some liquid adhesive just up there. So that's a picture of me and my mom on the beach. And so next I'm going to look around, try to figure out what else I want to do. I think the next thing I do is I pull out a piece of ephemera. It was a tag from my swimsuit that says hipster, because that's the kind of swimsuit it was. So I thought that was kind of cute, and the color matched the doily on the right. So I am going to use that, and then I'm going to get some brown and white twine to thread through there. Oh, but I am going to first take this. This is some extra scraps that were left over from that image on the right hand side. So I'm just going to glue these down because I felt like that yellow and blue really wasn't represented on this side of the page, and I wanted to make sure that was on this side as well. So I am going to glue two pieces down, one there and then one up by that circle piece. So I'll glue that down both with my gel matte medium and just kind of trying to tuck it up in there a bit, and then glue that down to make sure it stays, and then I'll let that dry before I come back and do anything else on the page. So here is where I end up putting the, or actually, sorry, I had to put some gesso on here too, so I want to mimic the other side, so I'm going to mute it out a bit. But next, I think, maybe, I'm going to use the tag. Oh no, I'm going to go through this and I'm going to get that teal tag out like I talked about earlier. I want to make sure that I get some of that bluer, darker color on the right hand side instead of that brown gray color. So that's going to just get here down with some liquid adhesive, and then I think finally maybe I will be using the little hipster swimsuit tag. Yeah. So I'm just going to string that with some brown and white twine here in just a minute. And then I'll just glue that again with some liquid adhesive, nothing too fancy. Because it's a little bit of a thicker piece of cardstock, then I thought it would be better with the liquid adhesive as opposed to the ATG. So it was quite thick. So I'm just going to glue that there. I'm going to end up tying a knot in the end, trimming it off, and then just putting a little dab of glue so the twine just kind of stays in the place that I want it to stay. And then I'm going to add one more stamped image. It's going to say Love It. This is an Ellie Edwards stamp, and so is that Today's Details. Those are both Love It. Those are both Ellie Edwards stamps, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to kind of show you some close-ups. Then I'm going to add some journaling onto the page, and then I'll show you kind of what it looks like after the journaling's been added. And then there's going to be some photos at the very end that you can kind of look at some more detailed shots. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed to the Crafty Maven, make sure you do that. We love having our new subscribers, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye.